most anything, And then they just all calm down. Dad will calm down in a minute. Just let him go. But the reality of it is this. I calm down in one sense, in another sense I don't. When I'm concerned about someone and what they're doing and how they're acting, I generally do confront them as soon as I get the right opportunity. Now that may sound harsh to you. Now why do I do that? Because deep down I care more about them than I think anybody else. Because I care enough about them for them to get mad at me. I care enough about them that they may get mad at me, but I've got to tell them the truth. Their soul's in danger. I've told Pastor candidly, I said, I have a message that I'm supposed to preach as soon as he's done. And he'll be done when she's done. For those of you that are watching over the internet, she's in her 9th month, about ready to have the first grandchild in our family. And when she has that baby, I'm preaching that next Sunday. And God gave me the message to preach that Sunday. I've already had it typed up, and I'm just on hold by. I'm like the kid on deck at a baseball game. I got my bat, and I'm just waiting for him to step down from the plate. And in that message, it's going to look like you're going to think that why is he preaching that? He's preaching it because he cares about you. God gave me that message. Folks, it's hard sometimes to be direct with people, but we must be truthful. Point 2. Point 2, the reason why we don't see revival today, is that as a whole, the church no longer has men and women that are true to their convictions, regardless of what people say or think. By convictions, I mean, what are your convictions? What are your convictions about what the Word says? There are certain things that we all know that are right and wrong based upon what the Bible tells us and what He gives us in our conscience. There are certain things He puts on the inside of us that when you become a Christian, you know if you're doing something wrong. You know it. I didn't know. I wrote a blog, I think it was put up today, from the old Flip Wilson show. Some of you are too young to remember Flip Wilson, but some of you will remember Flip Wilson. Flip Wilson had a show, and he would dress up as Geraldine. And in Geraldine, he would do this thing. He'd go, "It's not my fault. The devil made me do it." And that was his big thing. And people would laugh. I mean, we'd all laugh. I thought it was the funniest thing in the world. He said the devil made him do it. See, there was this passing over of excuses. It's not my fault. You see, and we need to be a place. If you want to have revival, you've got to get to a place where you've got certain convictions. You've got certain things you stand for. And we need to stand up for what we know is truth. We need to decide what our convictions are. And then no matter what anybody thinks about us, we're going to stand on those convictions. You may not like me. You may call me antiquated. You may call me outdated. You can call me whatever you want to call me. But I'm going to stand on truth. And I'm going to remember what Wesley said. I'm not judging what I think and how I feel about truth based on how you react to me. You can think I'm mean. You can think I'm bitter. But I deep down care for people's souls. And that's what it takes, folks. That's what it takes to have real revival, is when you care enough to put enough of you on the line that if they don't receive it, you got the target on your back. And that's hard. But that's what we have to do. We need men and women and children, even as young as Danielle's age. I'm so thankful when I see her make her stand. Bless her heart, she's getting older, and I've got things I talk to her about. When I see her, she generally is on the money every time. But then again, I'll watch something happen, and I'll say, "Baby, let's talk about that." I know she thinks I'm the strictest daddy on the face of the earth. And I'm really not. But I know when she begins to get into something that she shouldn't get into. And I don't let it go down the road and pray about it. I put my foot right down on top of it as soon as it happens. I do the same thing with all the kids. Just when they're older, got to have a little more tact sometimes. But you do it. What are your convictions tonight? What are the things that you believe the gospel stands for in your life? And you've got to decide what those convictions are, and then you've got to make a commitment to God. I'm going to be truthful to those convictions. I'm going to be truthful to them. I'm not going to let anybody or anything turn me away from what I know to be truth. Let me move to my third point tonight, and this is where I will cease tonight. In the next session, we'll pick up the next 3 or so reasons that we don't have revival. Third reason is this. The people within the church, those that call themselves Christians, have lost the 3 essentials. The 3 essentials. Let me give you what the 3 essentials are, and I'll comment on them just a little bit. The first essential is the spirit of self-denial. Jesus said, deny yourself, pick up the cross, and follow Him. Now, stop for a moment. I'm not asking for a show of hands. I'm not asking for anybody to say anything. I'm asking you to do an introspection immediately right now. What is the last thing you denied yourself for the sake of the gospel? Are you living in a life of self-denial? You see, people don't want to talk about this. If all you got to do tonight is go home and if you've got cable, look at Channel 20 on this local area and look at TBN and watch what they're saying. They're all talking about how to get wealthy, something, and wise. Healthy, wealthy, and wise. Now, I believe in health. I believe in divine healing. Y'all know my teachings on that. I believe in divine health. But here's what I also know is this. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about self-denial. I'm talking about self-denial, where you deny yourself. When is the last time you denied yourself anything, denied anything for God? I think about the story of Matthew. I love Matthew in the Bible. I mean, he was very unique of all the disciples. Now, I've said it before, but I want to say it again. What made Matthew so unique? What were the rest of them? With the exception of Judas, what were they all? They were fishermen. What did most of them do after Christ had been crucified and was in the tomb? They went back fishing. Because why? They were fishermen. They didn't lose their boats. Yeah, they spent 3 years with Jesus. But they ate and they had a good time doing it for sometimes, it seems like. They all went back fishing. Matthew couldn't go back to being a tax collector. Because when he gave up that job to follow Jesus, somebody else took that nice lucrative position. Matthew had the most incredible self-denial because the rest of them, and it's not their fault, but the rest of them could always go back and do what they were doing before they followed Jesus. Only Matthew had lost that position. No one else was going to get. That was a very wealthy to-do position in those days. They charged taxes. They collected money from Rome, and they also collected some extra. They weren't liked real well, but they made lots of money. But Matthew had self-denial. He gave up to follow Christ. That's a spirit of self-denial. When I look at some, and I've looked at a number of the clips from the Lakeland, Florida revival, and I'll tell you what it looks like to me. It looks like to me a party. Now, there's actually people out there today that advocate being drunk in the Spirit. They believe that when God settles in on a congregation, people act drunk. Now, have you ever seen anybody drunk? I mean, I have. I've seen people drunk. They stagger around, they laugh a lot, and they fall down. Well, if you go into their church services, you see people staggering around, laughing, and falling down and doing stupid stuff. Except they're, quote, drunk on the Holy Spirit. You see, folks, I want you to see the difference. Jesus said, deny yourself, pick up your cross, and follow me. Do you see any humor in that? Do you see any good time, let's go have a party in that? But that's the life that the disciples lived. That's the life that the early church lived. Susan, in some of her papers and research, and she's writing, the research that she's gone into is incredible. And she was talking about one of the stories she read. I don't have all the details of it, but this was back in the early church era. And this mother was told to basically deny Christ. And they said, if you don't deny Christ, we'll beat you, we'll kill you. The woman said, I won't deny Christ. And she had, I think, 3 children. I think they were all sons, I believe. And the mother, they said, if you don't deny Christ, we're going to bring your children in and beat them. And she had to sit there, and they brought her kids in one by one, and they beat these kids in front of this mother. And all she had to do was deny